subduing afflictions, and karmic habits.
Okay, welcome everyone to today's episode. Today, we're going to discuss some fascinating material about Bodhisattva, the awakened mind, and how to subdue the afflictions and karmic habits within our minds. I want to find some practical methods from this discussion to help everyone find direction when dealing with inner struggles. I found this material quite interesting because it uses many vivid metaphors to explain deeper Buddhist concepts. The core idea is about how we perceive and handle those troubling emotions and habits, which are referred to here as afflictions. One saying that really stuck with me is, attaining Bodhisattva and skillfully taming the dragon, one gains mastery over all dragon-like afflictions. This makes afflictions sound like formidable evil dragons, which is a very apt metaphor. Bodhisattva, then, is the method for taming them. There's another metaphor that likens afflictions to evil enemies. It says that when a bodhisattva arouses Bodhisattva, it's like a warrior putting on very strong armor. The scripture says, clad in the great armor of Bodhisattva. Once this armor is worn, all those karmic defilements and evil enemies referring to afflictions and bad habits cannot defeat you. So, whether they're dragons or enemies, the point is that even though afflictions seem powerful, they are not insurmountable. The material highlights that there are methods to deal with them. How exactly do we subdue them, tame the dragons, or defeat the enemies? It offers more than one method. 1. Direct opposition, doing the opposite. The most direct approach is to do the opposite. If it tells you to go east, you insist on going west. This sounds a bit like head-on confrontation, perhaps a more preliminary or direct method, similar to training a disobedient puppy where you use willpower to restrain it. The advantage of this method is that you might see immediate results. R. Transcending with wisdom, seeing through the falsehood. A higher-level method requires the use of wisdom. This involves thoroughly understanding the true nature of afflictions. For example, if you love to eat a certain food gluttony, perhaps a wise person would see through it. Constantly eating this will inevitably lead to an imbalanced diet, eventually causing physical discomfort and ultimately suffering. Or, if you indulge in too much sleep, your spirits might actually suffer, and your bodily functions could be affected. This isn't true happiness, as too much sleep can make you feel groggy. When you see through its falsity and realize that it will ultimately bring negative consequences and cannot provide genuine peace and joy, you can let go more easily. You don't need to struggle against it so much. This certainly sounds like a more fundamental method. 3. Realizing the illusory nature. Originally there is nothing. What about an even higher method? Yes, the highest level is to realize the illusory nature of afflictions. This is about recognizing originally there is nothing. Where can dust light? The nature of afflictions is emptiness. They are temporary, illusory phenomena that arise under various causal conditions. They don't have a fixed, unchanging, true essence, just as the Diamond Sutra constantly emphasizes. Know all dharmas as a dream, an illusion, a bubble, a shadow. When you truly understand that it's just an illusion, not real, it becomes harder for it to bind you, because you won't take it so seriously or see it as so real. The material also seems to highlight a key point. Our suffering often stems from us mistaking those constantly changing delusions, feelings, and impulses as our true self. In reality, your unchanging capacity for awareness, the observer that watches thoughts come and go, that seeing nature that is your true self. It watches joy come, it watches sorrow go, but it itself remains unchanged. However, we are too accustomed to following our emotions, identifying with those fleeting, ever-changing feelings, and equating ourselves with these sensations. That's why the scripture says, since beginningless time, we have been wandering in samsara. The key is to practice turning away, no longer chasing those false feelings, but instead abiding in that constant, unchanging true self. There's a rather light-hearted example given. Someone sees another person performing first aid on a child, perhaps patting their back because they're choking. But due to their own deluded thought, they immediately assume the other person is hitting and abusing the child. They then get so angry they almost grab a tool to attack the person. This example is classic and quite terrifying. It shows how dangerous it is to completely believe in instantaneous delusions and impulses without thinking. In fact, many conflicts from minor office quarrels and family discord to major societal harm often originate from that single, deluded thought. And you then keep fabricating and embellishing it in your mind, trapping yourself in that negative emotion. This is what's called creating something out of nothing. It's not like that at all, but you imagine it to be so and then firmly believe it. Finally, it mentions a beautiful metaphor. The merit of Bodhisattva is like the exceedingly precious black ebony sandalwood. Burning just a tiny bit, the scripture says a single stalk, meaning an extremely small amount, its fragrance can pervade a small kiliacosm. Its value far exceeds the combined total of all treasures in the 3,000 great kiliacosms. This metaphor emphasizes the immense merit. It means that when you arouse that bodhisattva, that aspiration to benefit all sentient beings, the merit and power generated by that vow are like the finest fragrance. It can spread out, allowing all beings who come into contact with it to feel a sense of peace, joy, and tranquility. Fragrance can soothe the mind, and merit helps beings depart from suffering and attain happiness. This power, it says, far surpasses the mind that only seeks its own liberation, like that of the Sravakas and Pratyabuddhas. Because the goal of Bodhisattva is for all beings, its scope and aspiration embody a vaster compassion and deliverance. What does this mean for us? So, after all this discussion, what does it mean for us? This exploration, using metaphors of dragons, enemies, armor, and fragrance, shows us that the afflictions within our minds are not insurmountable. Bodhisattva and the wisdom of the Dharma offer the strength and methods to overcome them. From the initial, more forceful approach of willpower doing the opposite to using wisdom to see through the harm and falsity of afflictions, and finally to realizing their illusory emptiness. The core practice is to stop identifying with those constantly changing emotions and thoughts. Recognizing that those are not your true self is a very crucial direction for practice. This also brings up a question you might want to explore for yourself. Since afflictions are described as illusory in nature, originally nothing, what if you try, from the very beginning, to treat the next negative thought or uncomfortable feeling that arises as an unreal illusion? Don't particularly try hard to believe it, nor particularly try hard to reject or get rid of it. Of course, don't dwell on it either. Just observe it, like watching clouds drift across the sky. If you practice this, what changes might occur in your inner state? This is perhaps something you can ponder and experiment with.